What's going on, foodie fans? So today we are going to do a mac and cheese. So this is one of my favorite mac and cheese recipes. It's very classic, but adds a little bit more flavor to it, a little bit more gourmet to it. So let's get it going. All right, so we have our penne pasta. Now I use penne pasta.
First step in this mac and cheese recipe,
but you can use shell.
we're going to cut up some bacon and we're going to render this fat. We're going to keep this at like a medium
macaroni
heat, and we're just going to
noodles,
render this very,
whichever
very,
one
very
you
slowly.
want. Now,
so we can get all
at this
that
part right
bacon
here,
fat.
what we're going to do is we're actually going to reduce down this bacon fat. And we're going to cook it a little slower than usual. We're not going to put it on medium high. We're actually going to keep it on a medium heat. So this is going to probably take a little while. And we're going to take half of the oil and we're going to use that for our topping at the end of this. So this is going to be the for the topping. Now, first thing we're going to do is we're going to add some onions. Now, the easiest way to do these onions is instead of trying to chop it all day and hurt your hand. I chop my onions and my garlic sometimes with my food processor, or you can use a cheese grater. And using a cheese grater, just make sure you watch your knuckles and your hands when you're grating. Now, if you notice, I got panko breadcrumbs and I got it in the bacon fat. So I'm using that bacon fat as a little bit of a seasoning, and we're going to take this panko and we're going to toast it a little bit. So we're just going to move this around a little bit, just toast it, and once it gets to a nice decent color, it doesn't have to be dark, but just like a decent color, like a couple shades a little darker, it'll be good to go. All right, so after we waited about 2-3 minutes on our onions, cooking on like a medium low heat, we're going to take some flour, put it in there, and we're going to mix it in. We're going to cook this down for another 3-4 minutes, and we're going to take our milk and put a stick of butter, and we just top it in the microwave. Now this is probably going to take about 1.5 minutes. I like to put it at 1 minute at a time, so you don't have to rush the process, but just like 1 minute at a time, or after 1 minute, 30 seconds. Here's some parsley. Add the parsley, get it for a little bit of a color because it's going to be our topping at the end of it. And I've added also some Parmesan cheese. Now you can actually leave the Parmesan cheese out. I just had this left over, so I decided to use it, but you really can leave the Parmesan cheese out. It actually takes away a little bit too much from it, so I would keep the Parmesan cheese out. But we're going to put this to the side. And if you notice, you see how the color is actually about two shades darker than when it started from. That's all we want, because it's going to darken up even more when we put it in the oven. All right. So after we do that, we're going to go ahead and get our pasta going. See, now we notice we haven't started our pasta at all. We're getting our cheese sauce ready and our pasta around the same time. So this milk and butter should actually be a little warm. Doesn't have to be hot, just a little warm. This is going to actually give it make it smoother. And you're going to put a little bit at a time. You're going to whisk this like a lot. You're going to whisk it a lot and keep whisking, and you're going to keep whisking and keep whisking until it gets really smooth. Now, we're going to add it in a little bit at a time, and we're going to keep whisking. I like to add a little bit of my seasonings earlier, but I did not do it this time. I actually added it at the end. Now here is some Velveeta cheese. You do not have to use Velveeta. I used it because I had it in the refrigerator, but normally I would use like a cream cheese, and I would actually use a mild cheese. So cream cheese, get this going, let this melt, and it's gonna melt slowly. This is not on high heat. This is like a medium low heat, slowly just getting it melted. Once it gets melted, then you're gonna add in a little bit more. This is like only like a half a stick of cheese. So probably about a pound of cheese, not a pound, yeah, a cup of cheese. So we've got our salted pasta water, of course. We're gonna use our vegetable noodles, and I used to use some penne pasta. It has a great size to it. The cheese actually melts into the inside, and we're gonna salt it just a little bit, not too salty. Now, some people I've seen use chicken stock into their pasta, especially in this pasta. You can do that if you like. In this case, I actually added it a little later, but you can do it right now actually in the noodles. So this is a Kobe and Jack cheese. You can use a mild cheddar cheese, and that would probably be best, using a mild cheese and a medium cheese. do not use a sharp cheese. If you use a sharp cheese, the problem is it becomes a little bit too powerful. And you know, I've tasted many mac and cheeses, and the best way to do this is actually use like a medium or mild cheese. You're gonna add more flavor into it anyway with the seasoning we're gonna add. We're gonna add a little bit of white pepper in here and some garlic powder and also some onion powder. So now, remember when I was saying you can add your seasoning? You can actually add your seasonings in at the beginning where the roux is. I forgot to do so I put it in right now. And it's going to actually, since I did it this time, it's going to clump up a little bit. So that's why you see the little spots that are in there. It'll go away as you cook it, and so it'll get away, you know, you won't see it. So there's a little bit of water in here, and I actually added my chicken stock right here, a little bit, just to kind of add more flavor into the pasta noodles. Now, you do not have to do this step. I did. So I did. It is what it is, people. Sometimes you just do things and you look back at it and you're like, okay, I shouldn't have done it that way. Normally you can actually add it in at the beginning and then you could have added it, the chicken center, but I didn't. Now the noodles are not cooked all the way through. I got the noodles cooked probably halfway through. And this cheese sauce, if you look at it, it's kind of runny. I actually want it runny. Now I'm not using all this cheese sauce because I have some nachos I'm making later on this week, and I wanted to make some extra cheese sauce. So this is all the cheese sauce that I need in here. But if you notice, it's very, very, very loose. But it's going to cook a little bit longer. I'm going to bake this. So before I bake it, I like to take a little bit of eggs, like 2 eggs, and then you're going to take a little bit of milk, and you're going to mix them together. And the reason why we're doing it this way is called tempering. You're tempering the eggs. If you don't do this process and you throw the eggs right into the mac and cheese, you will you'll have scrambled egg mac and cheese. So don't do that. Just don't do that. There's no need to. So we're gonna add a little bit of our cheese sauce, and right now I'm tempering it. I already added a little milk. Now I'm tempering it with the cheese sauce. So now it's up to a point where I know that it's not going to give me scrambled eggs. And then I'm gonna put this in here. Now, the reason why I'm adding eggs into it is going to give a little bit more body to it. Now, do you need the egg in here? You don't have to. You can actually go without it. Now, if you go without it, I would tell you to wait longer before you bake it. So, like, put it in the baking dish, put it in the pan, and you can do this overnight and have it ready for tomorrow, especially for Thanksgiving or so. So, we already put some cheese on there. We're going to mix a little bit of leftover cheese around in there. So, it's going to get nice and gooey. And now what we're going to do is that, remember that panko breadcrumbs and parsley mixture? We're going to add that right on top of this. And don't forget, I did have some bacon, so I'm not going to forget. I'm going to add some bacon. Now, you don't need to add bacon, but since I was not making any other dish outside of this, I added bacon. So, you know, hey. So this is more of like a main dish instead of whatever. Now, you do not need to add the bacon. The bacon is just extra, or you can just eat the bacon on its own. So, you know, I'm going to slide this in the oven, put it at around 350 or 400. And if you put it at 400, it's going to cook a little faster. Put it at 350, it's going to be whatever. But look how gooey. Yes, that is. Nice and gooey. Mac and cheese. All right, so this is the ultimate mac and cheese. Now, if you have any questions, listen, I see some of your comments. I read them all the time, so I have no problem answering any questions y'all may have. There are tons of ways to make a mac and cheese, but this, I'm telling you right now, was good. So let me know what you think in the comments and section, and I'll see you next episode.